My name is Maria Cooper. Today we are going to be discussing how bipolar disorder is very misunderstood and what it's like for me from before we discovered I was bipolar to now where I am. A normal day for me, it varied, to be completely honest. I mean, there were days that I couldn't get out of bed. There were days that I would be balls to the walls, power cleaning. If I made a clean spot on like the kitchen counter, if I spilled coffee and I wiped up the mess, I would clean the whole house from top to bottom. There are days that were just even keel, and I was seeing a therapist, and I gave him a copy of my mood journal. And if he had been paying attention, I would have been diagnosed a lot sooner. Because I would go from being thoroughly happy to being angry to being depressed to crying for no reason just within the span of a few minutes. So my moods were rapid cycling, and I should have been put on a mood stabilizer at that point. They did put me on medication for depression, and that did seem to level things out a little bit. Dad was in Korea, and you were 10, Marcus was 6, and Gabby was 1, and we had just moved to Oklahoma, and he had just left for Korea. That was the first time that we had been separated, and I couldn't handle it. I was convinced our marriage was going to end. I was convinced that I was a bad person, that I was a bad mother, that I was a bad housekeeper, that I couldn't do anything right. I had just recently given up my career as a paralegal to stay home with you kids, so I felt like a failure because I didn't have a job. I started having suicidal ideations that my family would be better off if I was gone. And that's when the doctor said, we have a problem. I felt overwhelmed. I'd take one look at everything and just be like, nope, can't do it. He said, you need to be admitted to the hospital. And I said, how am I supposed to do that when I have no one to take care of my children? My husband's in Korea. He said, you have 24 hours to get your affairs in order. He said, because right now it's voluntary. He said, as of tomorrow, it's not going to be. The first time I was in the hospital, I was in for 11 days. He was home within 24 hours.
Okay.
The Red Cross got a hold of him, sent him home on emergency leave, and then he was given compassionate reassignment, which is why we stayed in Oklahoma for so long. Again, I felt like a failure. I felt like I brought this on myself. I felt like the walls were closing in around me. I felt like my family was better off without me. Because I was so screwed up, I didn't think that I could offer anything of value to my family at that time. Well, with bipolar, there really is no timeline. It's all trial and error. You have to try many different cocktails of drugs to find the one that works for you, because everybody responds to medication differently. So I'm on a medication called Trileptal, which is a mood stabilizer. My moods, I feel much better. I feel much happier. I don't have suicidal ideations anymore. I haven't for a while now. I'm on Valium for my anxiety disorder. Now I know kind of what to expect when I get up in the morning. I can kind of tell in the morning as my medications are kicking in if I'm going to have one of those days where I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing anything. Or, yeah, today is a good day to tackle some projects. Before, everything was just chaotic. I had no control over my mind. My thoughts still rapid cycle. Like, my mind is always going, and it's hard to shut it off. So I do suffer from insomnia quite a bit. A lot of it depends on the mood I wake up in. If I wake up and my meds start kicking in and I'm having my coffee and I feel happy and functional and I start writing my to-do list, I know I'm going to have a good day. If I wake up and my meds are starting to kick in and I'm having my coffee and I feel just exhausted or overwhelmed, I know it's going to be a bad day. Bad days, I typically just don't want anybody to be around me. I want to be left alone. I want to just exist. I just want to crawl into bed with my dog. I get angry easy. I get irritable easy. And I tend to take it out on those that are closest to me, which I'm sure they will all attest to. They know I don't mean to, and they've learned when it happens to just let it go. Some of the things that are harder to do with bipolar are to clean. I'll look at a mess and I just won't know where to start to tackle it. It's harder for me to bring myself to leave the house. I would much rather just stay within these four walls where I'm safe and secure. I hate the idea of having to go out and be social. Well, now the bad feelings are not nearly as extreme as they were before the diagnosis. Now I don't really cry very often. I feel that the good bipolar days are like way up here now that I'm on the medication and I'm regulated and I'm doing much better, whereas the good bipolar days were about here before. I take antipsychotics. Those help me to eliminate the hallucinations. I would see, hear, and smell things that did not exist. One of you, I think it was Marcus, had vomited on the couch. And I cleaned it, and I cleaned it, and I cleaned it, and I couldn't get the smell out of the couch. So I threw the couch away, and I bought a new couch. And then I could still smell the vomit. When Dad came home from Korea before the antipsychotics started really working and they got me on the right one, I would be like in our bedroom and I would see him go by the bedroom. So I went to see what he was up to and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he was in the living room. Or I would be having dinner with him and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said." And he said, "I didn't say anything." So it was very scary. I think what I really want people to know is that bipolar is not, you're not crazy. It's a disorder. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain that causes the brain to not function properly. It affects every single person differently. You could have 20 bipolar people in the room, or 20, I prefer to say 20 people with bipolar disorder in the room. You are not bipolar. You are not the illness. You have an illness. What has made me feel good about going through the whole experience of bipolar is that looking back at my life, there are certain behaviors that I had, my mind has always raced. I've always rapid cycled with emotions. There were other behaviors that I had. I've always had insomnia. So I think all of those have made me feel really good about being diagnosed and learning how to channel certain things in my life. If you encounter someone who suffers from the disorder, you need to be patient with them, especially if they've recently been diagnosed, because the likelihood that they're on the proper medication is very slim. It can take years to find the right combination of medication to make the person be able to function in a way that society feels is normal.